Hi, everyone. Well, I'm here with Vicki from Jomeis Fine Foods, and I met Vicki at a trade show, I believe, and not only the color of her packaging and the foods, but it was just her vibrancy that she exudes that attracted me. And so I just wanted to have a chat with Vicki today and hear more about just how and why you started Jomeis. What's the story behind it?
Absolutely. It's so good to see you firstly, Denise. Can I just say it's so lovely to see your beautiful face. It's been a long time, but yeah, so you're right. So Jomeis has been around since 2002. So we started, so it's quite an interesting backstory, but I'm going to give you a very shortened version. So we started back in 2002 and we started with a balsamic vinegar. My husband's a Chinese doctor. I was a yoga teacher for many years, and we had a lot of patients coming into the practice in Melbourne with gut issues. And so he recommended vinegar as a way to include more vegetables into the diet, like raw salads, for example, and vinegar is a really great digestive, stimulant. So a lot of people didn't like vinegar. They weren't too fond of like the bitterness or the acidity of a apple cider or balsamic. So we ended up cooking down balsamic vinegar and made a balsamic reduction. So we were the first company back in 2002 to launch a sweet balsamic reduction, which was amazing because it had multiple uses. So it wasn't just about having on salads, but you could also have it on fruit as well, like strawberries and so forth. And so that was our very first product. So it was really to help people eat better. That's how we started. And then that went on for some time. Like the balsamic vinegar kept us very, very busy for a number of years. And then I was teaching yoga for, I've taught for 15 years all up, but towards the end of my yoga career, I actually tore a ligament off my bone, and I was having turmeric every day as a natural way to kind of heal myself and to reduce that inflammation in my hip. And so I found turmeric so beneficial. I just loved it because I didn't want to go down that medical route. I wanted to just try and heal myself as best as I could naturally. And so I was making all sorts of different concoctions. So turmeric with maca, turmeric with, the black pepper, of course, the coconut milk powder, all sorts of wonderful things. And then that's how the turmeric latte was essentially born. And so that was the first of our range, the turmeric latte here. And then from there, we created a few more flavors. So we had 7 flavors in total in our original nutritional latte range, which you can see behind me. And the vision with these is obviously to give people a nice alternative, because I was never a coffee drinker either. So we did look at not only the fact that turmeric's a natural anti-inflammatory, because that was like the catalyst to starting this range, but also looking at people's coffee consumption and why coffee is not such a great option when you're looking at hot beverages. So coffee, as we know, the research, it's very interesting when you start scratching the surface with coffee, because there's a lot of backup to support coffee. But in my own opinion, and from the research I've done, it's acidic. So it causes, it's acidic. So bodies that want to live long and strong, like myself, I've got a personal mission to live to 120, probably similar to yours, Denise. We want to live forever. We want to keep our bodies in a state of alkalinity, which I know you're very familiar with. So the thing that I'm proud of most is that we've created a range that gives people an option other than your herbal teas or other than your hot chocolates that are often sugar laden. These are nutritional lattes, which are better for you. They taste amazing. You can have them hot and cold. And fundamentally, we're filling that gap. We're solving that problem for people like myself who don't drink coffee. So that's the backstory.
Yeah, and for those who still like their coffee, they could, in a way, have an upgrade, right, to their coffee. They're not just having the coffee; they're having that extra turmeric or the raw cocoa for the antioxidants. Yeah,
absolutely, exactly right. And a lot of people went down that path of mixing turmeric with their coffees as well. Or with it, just mixing it up, and that's fine, whatever floats your boat. But you're right. And what we have noticed is people, we don't, whatever works for the individual. Obviously, we've got a massive, I'm Melbourne based, so it's a huge coffee culture here. But what we did notice was that people's consumption went down 10.5 cups per person per week to 9.2. So essentially everyone was giving up 1 cup of coffee. And so this is where this range is ideal, because you can still have your hot drink, but after 3 o'clock, if you're not wanting to have a coffee, you've got something else to select or to enjoy. So that's good. We're filling the gap.
And it energizes you just as much, if not
Yes.
more, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. I mean, you're very familiar with superfoods, and I know a lot more people are now because the research is out, and all the ingredients that we've used in these nutritional lattes, that's why we called the range nutritional lattes, is because every single ingredient that we selected to create these blends, it has got a beneficial, they're adaptogenic. Like ginger, for example, is also an adaptogen. So there's so many benefits to having these lattes. They don't just taste great, they do you great, which is good.
So what's your favorite?
You know what? It's a good question. People ask me that all the time, and I go through different stages. Obviously, I mean, I always love a good turmeric latte, and so I do go back to that often. But cacao latte at the moment is my favorite. This is a pack that I've been enjoying. I love cacao because it's so simple. I mean, firstly, it hits the spot in terms of if you've got a sugar craving or something like that. It tastes like a hot chocolate. It tastes like it's decadent, but it's so good for you. And you're familiar with cacao. I know I've seen your videos on cacao as well, and how potent the antioxidants are in cacao. And we use it. So this is 80% raw cacao, so unadulterated, raw from the tree to me, ground down, beautifully blended with a little bit of coconut milk powder and a little bit of Himalayan pink salt to lift the flavor profile, and also green leaf stevia, which does not impact blood sugar levels. So suitable for diabetics as well, suitable for children, suitable for breastfeeding women, suitable for anyone, basically. And
yeah,
the reason
that's a popular one.
it is.
Yeah.
And it kind of, when we first launched, it was probably one of the least popular ones, but I think just in time, I think is what happened. People were thinking, I've got cacao at home, I can make my own, but it's not the case. You know how bitter cacao, straight cacao is.
Yeah.
So it has grown, it has gained more in popularity in the last maybe year and a half. And I love this one because I can do so much with it. So it's not just as a hot drink, but I can also make a drizzle. Like I mix it with an MCT liquid coconut oil and create a drizzle. Or I mix it with like a firm coconut butter and make a spread, and add a bit of maple syrup. So I love doing things like that. And plus also I do a ganache with it as well. So when I make raw cakes or raw treats, I use the cacao latte to make the ganache, which is super easy. It's just literally cacao latte, coconut butter, and maple syrup, 3 ingredients. Equal proportions, and you're done.
That's dangerous.
It's dangerous. But you know what the good thing, exactly, it tastes, it sounds like it is, but it's, you know yourself how good it is for you.
Yeah.
So, and the fact that these are all sugar-free, I think I love that fact. And a lot of people who, in the early days, a lot of people didn't know what green leaf stevia was. They thought it was an artificial sweetener. So we had to do a lot in educating people what stevia was. And even when we developed these, so I worked with food technicians and also Melbourne baristas to get the flavor profiles right and smooth, because that was really important for me, particularly if we're picking up the coffee connoisseurs. These all needed to taste smooth on the palate. And I know historically, like people think about turmeric lattes and they find them quite gritty, but ours are quite smooth. And yeah, so the best thing about these is the versatility, obviously, and the use and the taste and the fact that we haven't used sugar. So that was my point. So yeah, with stevia, a lot of people in the early days were not familiar with what green leaf stevia. They thought it was an artificial sweetener, but over time, I feel like a lot of people have been more educated about stevia, and in fact, the benefits of stevia, because it's a herb in its own right as well. So it's great for bone density, and it's just, I mean, just so happens that it's a herb, but it's sweet, super sweet. So it's perfect addition to lift the flavor profiles of these blends.
Yeah, and I have to say you did a really good job. It's really hard to work with stevia, but these ones, I love that it's versatile. It's literally just, pour hot water or cold and drink. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's right. And and that's right. Even with the stevia, like it's a really delicate balance. Like I think we did about 15 different trials per flavor before we actually landed the right flavor profile, because it's such a fine line with stevia. Too much and you can taste it, too little, it doesn't do enough. So we really had to find that sweet spot, which we found. So thank you for your feedback.
Yeah, well, we appreciate, as the consumers, we appreciate that, you're using good quality sweeteners that doesn't raise the blood sugars, but it also tastes good. That's important, right? For us to continue living a healthy lifestyle, making it convenient for us. And you've done all of that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad you have an appreciation for it, because to be honest, like at the start, I was leaning towards not putting any stevia at all as well, just to let the consumer decide what they wanted to use, whether it was a honey or coconut sugar, or that's the way I was going with it. But at the time I was working with a consultant, and his suggestion was that it has to taste good from the get-go, because otherwise people won't repurchase it. So we went with the stevia. That was the best option. When we looked at coconut sugar, it was going to have to be listed as like the first ingredient on the back of pack. And we're like, okay, that's a big no for me. And then we looked at what was the other option? Oh, the no sugar. And then we looked at, obviously, the stevia. So this was the winner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but we did try.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think in the end, convenience wins, right? But
Yes.
we also know that you can, in this day, right, with great companies like yours, with Jomeis, you know, you can have convenience, but also make it healthy.
Correct.
And it doesn't have to, like, the packaged goods don't have to be the over processed ones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's right. And it's just doing it the right way, like taking your time with, like, for us, it took about 2 years before we actually launched, because we wanted to get everything right, from the branding, the packaging, you know, the taste of every single product, not just nailing one of them, making sure they all tasted as consumers expected them to taste. So yeah, just taking the time with it. So I'm glad that we did go through that process of, you know, doing trial groups as well, and getting that feedback from consumers, because, like, to your point, you know, convenience and functionality, like, they go hand, like, people want both. It's not one or the other anymore. People want both. So that's what we've got, which is good.
So maybe you can leave us with one of your health tips. What is it that you do to stay young and strong, to live to 120?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? I mean, this is the first thing I have to say is you've got to nourish to flourish. And what I mean by that is it's a holistic approach. It's not just diet. It's not just what you're consuming via your mouth. It's what you're consuming via your ears, via your eyes, via your heart, via your skin. It's, you know, you've got to nourish yourself the right way to flourish. And it's holistic. So that's I guess that's my top tip with health and longevity, is it's got to be holistic. And the other thing is consistency is key. So you know, some people jump on a bandwagon of, you know, changing their diets and doing things, or doing some exercise, and they see some short-term, you know, results, but they don't follow through with it. But health is all about you know, having consistency, so that, because as we know, like, the body is replenishing cells every single day, new cells, billions of cells, you know, creating new livers, creating new skin, you know. And so if we are consistent with our health, then our body is going to serve us right. If we're going to do right by our body, it's going to do right by us. So that's my theory, is you've got to nourish to flourish, but not just with your diet, with everything.
I love that. I love that. Nourish consistently.
Yes.
Holistically.
Yes, exactly. There's a new quote.
That could be a hashtag.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's true. I mean, there's so many things I could say to answer your question, but I think that kind of encapsulates it in one go. But also the other thing is too, is I've got a podcast, One Body, One Life, as you know, and in my very first podcast episode, I talk about how I actually lost 2 best friends to cancer. And I know you've had your own journey as well, Denise, with healing. And that was a big pivotal point, you know, turning point in my life, because I was always on this mission to live to 120. But I also realized that a lot of people don't make change until they absolutely have to make change, until there's a catalyst.
Yeah.
So I created a term called WeQ, which is like well-being intelligence. You know, you've got IQ and you've got EQ, but WeQ is like well-being intelligence. So, you know, people need to engage their well-being intelligence. And when they're making decisions, whatever it is on a day-to-day basis, is they've always got to ask themselves, is this the best possible option I could be giving my body? Is this the best possible place I should be going right now? Is this the best possible way I'm sitting? You know, every single thing is just, you've got to, you know, look into for yourself and ask yourself that question for your own well-being and longevity. That's what I think is definitely part of it as well, is changing that mindset, not just waiting for something drastic to happen. Start living now as if you may already be fighting some insidious disease. Why not?
Yes, why not? We're meant to live that life of abundance, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, some people think I'm a little bit fanatical, and maybe you are too, Denise, because we're on these missions to live long and strong. But yeah, I think, why not? We live in a country, a world where we've got access to so much good, so many beautiful products, so many fresh so much fresh produce, you know, good
Yeah.
quality water. We can filter our water. We can distill our water. Why can't we go for 120? I don't see why not. I think we've got a
Yes.
good chance at it. So,
Well, you and I.
anyway,
Yeah. So
yes.
if you can share with our viewers your podcast again.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's One Body, One Life with Vicki Nguyen. And it's the focus is all about longevity and what people can do to live longer, stronger, happier, healthier lives. And we cover lots of different things. So I interview different practitioners. We cover off different modalities and diets and lifestyles and different principles to help people live basically longer and stronger. So the last interview I did was with Dr. Alan Desmond, and he's UK-based gastroenterologist, which was fascinating because he's an advocate for the plant-based diet, basically, and all our products are plant-based too, as you know. So yeah, he spoke a lot about, you know, gut health and what he noticed in his practice, and that the key to longevity, again, which is also confirmed by the blue zones, which are the areas of the world where people live the longest, is having predominantly a plant-based diet. So there you go. There's a little tip.
Well, we can tune into that episode.
Yes, yeah, check it out. So One Body, One Life with Vicki Nguyen, and it's available via Spotify, on YouTube, and any Apple podcast or any other podcast app that you can get your hands on, basically.
Well, thank
Yay.
you, Vicki. Thank you for joining us. It was such a pleasure to catch up again and just to hear the story, the inspiration. Yeah, sometimes even for us, you know, who have been in this kind of like health and wellness sphere, it's always good to remind ourselves, you know, of what it is that we're doing. And yeah.
Absolutely. Yep, exactly. And also to people who are new to health and want to jump on the bandwagon of trying to clean up their diet, like I guess for those people that are listening, the thing is just to start. Doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter how, you know, just start somewhere. Just start by cutting something out and having substitutes ready. And then it becomes so much easier, because once you've started and then you start feeling the difference, you notice it straight away. It's easy to stay on that path because you're feeling the difference. So
you don't want to go back, actually. You won't want to go back.
Exactly. But thank you so much for having me. Always gorgeous seeing your face, and love to you, everyone there as well.
Yes, thank you.
No problem.